Hey Canucks fans, love it or hate it, the new JT Miller contract extension signals that the club is going all in right now. I'm Canuck Clay, and this is my Canucks take all in one take. It's Clay's Canucks commentary for Saturday, September the 3rd. If you're new, here's what you should do. Hit the subscribe button now for daily Canucks insight that's positive, timely, and trustworthy. I hope you've had a great start to this long weekend, this Labor Day weekend. Today's Saturday. That means tomorrow's Sunday. That means tomorrow is time for my weekly Ask Me Anything vlog. So head over to my community tab right after this video and leave me a question, and I'll do my best to get to it in tomorrow's vlog. Canucks fans are still buzzing. They are still reeling over this brand new contract extension for center JT Miller, 7 years, $56 million. I was at a, wedding shower earlier today. I was going to say bridal shower, but it was for both for the guy and the girl. So a wedding shower earlier today, and that's all people wanted to talk about once they knew who I was, and once, or people that I knew from before, they know that I'm a Canucks vlogger. They wanted to talk about the JT Miller deal. And so this is my last excited, hurried vlog. We know now that there's about $20 million in signing bonus money. Not that that affects the cap or anything like that. We know that the most important thing is after this season, remember, this season he's still in that amazing deal of $5.25 million. It's next season that it kicks in. First of 7 years, $8 million apiece, $56 million. And there's a full no movement clause in the first 4 years, and then a modified no trade clause in the final 3 years. So year 1, 2, 3, 4, he's here no matter what. Year 5, 6, 7, he likely gave a list of a certain number of teams that he would or would not want to be traded to, or at least allow a trade to. But we don't have to worry about that for another 5 years from now, given that it's 1 + 4. So we can talk about that a little bit later. But I think what most people are talking about for sure is no matter if you love the trade, if you like the trade, if you dislike the trade, or if you hate the trade. And by the way, I did a Twitter poll on it, and over 70% of people either love it or like it. The majority of like it. There's a few dislikes and a very few hate it. So over 70% of the people like or love this trade. No matter how you feel about this trade, what it does signal to the Vancouver Canucks fans is that Jim Rutherford and Patrick Allvin, they're all in right now. This is not a deal that you hope ages well in the future. This is not a deal where you're thinking, oh, this is a perfect deal for a rebuilding club. No, this is a deal for a team that is hoping to win right now. What do I mean by that? Well, remember, this year, JT Miller is still on the last year of his previous deal of $5.25 million. So that's excellent. But then when you get into year 1, 2, 3, even year 4 of this deal, which kind of makes sense, it lines up with his full no movement clause. That's when the Canucks, you hope they're going to maximize this contract and going to be at their very best. And I would say not even the 3rd or 4th year of this contract. I'd say either this year or at the very latest, the first 2 years of JT Miller's 7-year contract. Because you look at how the Canucks line up. Everyone's talked about the core 4 of the Canucks. Actually didn't used to include JT Miller. It was always Elias Pettersson, Quinn Hughes, Brock Besser, and Bo Horvat. Those were the core 4 that we always talked about. Horvat, Hughes, Pettersson, and Besser. And then I think it's very clear to see that you have to add Thatcher Demko to that core as a younger player still in his mid-20s. So now that makes 5. And then by signing JT Miller to a 7-year contract extension, you signal that he is also part of that core. So I will take that core. I'm not saying it's the best core in the league, but it's a pretty darn good core of those 4 forwards: Miller, Pettersson, Besser, Horvat, then 1 defenseman in Hughes, and then the goaltender in Thatcher Demko. Of course, you like to have maybe another defenseman or 2 named in that core, but that's what we have right now. 1 superstar goalie, 1 elite defenseman, and then 4 really good forwards. Varying degrees of very good, of course, but 4 good forwards. So let's say that the core we're working with is this core of 6. And I think Podkolzin can be part of that core going forward. Maybe Höglander, maybe Garland, and then who knows about Mikheyev and Kuzmenko. But I think we could agree that the core 6, whatever order you want to put them in, are the 4 forwards of Pettersson, Miller, Besser, and Horvat, 1 defenseman in Hughes, and 1 goalie in Demko. So that's your core 6. And then you have to obviously build around them. And that's where the Canucks are going to have trouble, or are seeming legitimately having trouble because Rutherford and Alvin, I'm not blaming Benning completely. I'm not absolving Rutherford and Alvin of all of their work or non-work so far. But I think it's clear to say that there was a pretty big salary cap mess that is going to take a while to get out of. So that's why maybe we haven't seen the moves that we've wanted to see so far, even though it sounded like Alvin and Rutherford were going to come in guns a-blazing and make all these changes. But there are some contracts they are saddled with. Actually, all the contracts basically that they never negotiated. The OEL one that got traded here, the Tyler Myers one that Benning did, the Garland one, the Pearson one. I'm not saying all these are bad contracts, the Dickinson one, but these are contracts that this new regime inherited, to be sure. Now, why am I talking about the Canucks need to win all in now? Well, let's talk about two aspects of it. Obviously, $8 million for JT Miller as a 30, 31, 32-year-old, even 33-year-old, that's okay. Because hopefully, even if he doesn't reach 99 points again, if he's a 80-point player, 85-point player, I'll even take a 75-point player, but basically a point-per-game player for the after this next season, for the next 3 or 4 years, that's what we expect, that's what we hope, and that's what we are paying for. It's in year 5, 6, 7 of the contract where you're saying, ooh, we're giving $8 million to this guy who's now in his mid-30s. That's money that could be spent on younger players. So I get that part of the concern about his contract. But if we're only going to focus on the first 4 years, 3 or 4 years of that contract, and even the first couple of years of that contract, this is why it signals to me that the Canucks are trying to win right now. Thatcher Demko, coming in this season, has got 4 years left on his awesome deal, $5 million a season. Quinn Hughes has 5 years left on his 6-year deal. Pettersson only has 2 years left because he just signed a new one, has 2 years left on his 3-year deal. So he's going to need a new deal after 2 seasons from now. Besser, he has that 3-year deal, so he's got 2 more years left on his deal. And Horvat's contract ends after this season, the same as JT Miller's did. So when you look at the other 5 of the core 6 that I just talked about, of course, there's Miller, who's signed, not including this next season coming up, 7 more. Then you have Hughes after the season for 4 more. Demko after the season for 4 more. No, after the season for 3 more, excuse me. So you have Hughes for 4 more. Remember, this is after the season. Hughes for 4 more. Demko for 3 more. Then you have PD for, Besser for 1 more. PD for 1 more. And then Horvat will need a new deal. And I guess that's why it seems like the Canucks are destined. They need to win now because you never know after 1 or 2 years, after 2 or 3 years, what the new Pettersson contract is going to look like. It's bound to be $8.5 million. We don't know what Horvat's new contract is going to look like at the end of this season, but at least after the season, you still have Hughes for 4, Demko for 3, and PD for 1 more. PD and Besser for 1 more on their current contracts. So you could argue that after this season, it's the 2023-2024 season where the Canucks really got to make a push because they're in the final years of that PD Besser contracts before they have to negotiate new contracts. Finally, the thing before that is how does this play into Bo Horvat's contract negotiations? It was actually thought that Horvat's contract had more progress to it than Miller's contract. And then as I talked about yesterday, Miller's contract just comes out of the blue. My guess, because this regime has basically flat out said they didn't want the Miller thing hanging over their head throughout the season, I'm guessing they're going to say the same thing about Horvat. I'm guessing that Horvat gets a new contract before training camp opens, whether that's 5 years, 6 years, 7 years, at whatever, 7 million, 7.5 million, 6.5 million. I think it's going to be somewhere between 6.5 and 7. That's my guess. That's my prediction, is I think they're going to try and get Horvat done before. So then they've done all that contract work going into the season, and then they worry about the contracts after that, but not until the end of this year. So Canucks fans, again, do you agree with me, I guess? Do you agree with me that this move, this JT Miller contract, does indeed, in fact, signal that the Canucks are all in right now over the next 1, 2, and 3 seasons? And if that's the case, are you okay with the contract? Does that help make you like it, love it, as opposed to dislike it or hate it? Let me know in the comments below. It'll just be a continuation of yesterday's conversation. And don't forget to go to my community tab and leave me a question from my Ask Me Anything vlog tomorrow. Shout out to my sponsors, Van City Experts Real Estate Group and Perform and Transform Personal Training and Weight Loss. Thank you, legendary Lucas Gates, legendary Justin Credible, legendary Andrew Chang, Hall of Fame and franchise members. I appreciate all of you, and I appreciate every single one of you that are watching. Thank you for helping me build this channel. Okay, friends, subscribe if you'd like to. Like this video if you'd like to. Leave a tip, a super thanks if you'd like to. Leave a become a member or upgrade if you'd like to. And definitely leave a comment down below if you'd like to. Tell me if you agree with me that this new contract for Miller signals that the Canucks are all in, and are you okay with it? As always, oh yeah, if you made it this far in the video, 10 minutes in, you can probably tell I got a new phone. Just say new phone, and that's all you have to say. Then I know you made it to the end of this video. Stay safe, stay healthy, take care of yourselves, and take care of each other. Have a great day. God bless, and go Canucks go.